moving a little bit. And then when you're standing, just take your feet hip distance apart if it's comfortable enough. If not, just the distance that you need them to be comfortable. Spreading the toes into the mat, and we'll just start by shifting our weight forward and back a few times. Just spreading your toes as you shift your weight forward and allowing the heels to take your weight as you shift your weight back. Let's just do 2 or 3 more of these. And then coming to a position where you feel your weight is equally distributed across the front and back of the feet. And we'll just take a deep breath in, bringing the shoulders up towards the ears. And as you exhale, sliding the shoulder blades down the back. Let's just take a few more of these. So inhale through the nose if it's comfortable enough, exhaling through the nose. Starting to match your inhale, the length of your inhale with the length of your exhale. And just bringing the hands on the outer edges of the ribs. We'll just take a few more breaths, really concentrating the breath as a 360 breath. So as you inhale, you should feel the pressure inside between your thumb and index finger, and also on the front and back of your ribs. So inhaling, trying to make sure your shoulders don't lift, and then as you exhale, feeling the ribs coming closer together. And as you exhale, you want to feel like you're drawing your full abdomen back, so not the top, not the bottom. So, but it's actually easier to imagine you're sucking your lower belly in, and then the top will follow. So we'll just take a few of these. So breathing in and exhaling, and again inhale and exhale. So as you exhale, it should feel as if your ribs are sort of drawing down towards your hips. And again, inhale and exhale. So trying to keep that breath going. Let's just take the feet a little bit wider, softening the knees, and let's just start to move the hands, the arms from side to side, starting with little movements. And then you can bring the arms a bit higher and start to lift one heel and then the other, starting to take up as much room as you've got. And as you do this, you can also start to bring the arms up, so you get a bit of a stretch, deeper stretch in your sides. And then we'll just bring the arms back down to shoulder height and back down to hip height. And then just bringing the movement in, bringing the feet back in if that's comfortable enough. And softening the knees, hands on the hips, we'll go in with our pelvic tilts. So as we inhale, tilting the pelvis back, feeling a deeper curve in your lower back. And then as you exhale, pulling the lower belly back towards the spine. So really sucking that in to allow the pelvis to tilt forward. And again, inhale back, exhale forward. And as you think this, try to imagine your sitting bones opening out as you tilt back and then coming closer together as you tilt forward. And just visualizing that should kind of help the pelvic tilt and make it more meaningful as a good, it's actually a really good pelvic floor stretch without having to engage anything other than the stomach muscles to help. And then we'll stay in the position where your pelvis is tilted back, bringing the arms up to shoulder height. And then as you inhale, you're just going to slide the elbows back. And then exhale, then sliding the shoulder blades down the back and angling the fingertips towards the ceiling. And then see if you can get a bit more of a squeeze between the shoulder blades. And then as you exhale, wrapping your arms around a big imaginary ball, dropping the shoulders, dropping the head. And again, inhale, going straight down to that angled shoulder squeeze. And exhale, wrapping your arms around a big imaginary ball, relaxing the head. And again, inhale back. And exhale, wrapping your arms, and here we'll just draw the fingers away from you, relaxing the head. We'll just take a few breaths in our upper back. Really trying as much as possible to move away from belly breathing. And then we're going to keep our arms wrapped around this imaginary ball. We're just going to bring the head up and straighten the spine. And the knees stay soft, but you're suddenly in a neutral spine position, so where your hip bones and pubic bone are roughly on the same plane. And we're just going to imagine we're trying to take the ball, take it for a little wander from side to side. So we're going to breathe in, and as we exhale, we're going to twist from the thoracic spine. So from here, we're going to twist to the right. And then inhale to center, exhale, twist to the left. Again, inhale to center, exhale, twist to the right without moving the hips or the knees. Inhale to center, exhale, twist to the left. Inhale to center, exhale, twist to the right. Inhale to center, exhale, twist to the left. One more. Inhale to center, exhale, twist to the right. Inhale to center, exhale, twist to the left. Inhale back to center, stretching your arms around in front of you, and then allowing the fingertips to lead the way in a forward fold. So you're going to keep your weight even and distributed without allowing it to shift back to the heels. And we'll just take a breath in, and as you exhale, rolling it down one vertebra at a time. Relaxing the head, relaxing the shoulders, and then if somehow your fingers reach the floor, just don't allow them to take the weight of your back. So the weight stays in your feet, so you can actually hold on to opposite elbows and gently rock from side to side. At this point, you might have had to shuffle your feet away from each other just to get more room. And you can nod the head from side to side, check it yes and no. And then bending the knees as much as you need to, so that both hands are reaching, both sets of fingers reach the mat. We're going to breathe in, and as we do that, we're going to reach the right hand up towards the corner of your room. And then bringing that hand down, and then other side. So we're just doing these kind of like really wonky walks. So you're just going diagonally with your arms, so you're not over twisting, but you should get a bit of a stretch in your lower back. And we don't need to keep the hips square here, just you can straighten your leg as you lengthen your arm away. So just doing a few of these, following your straightening arm with your gaze. And then bringing both hands down towards the mat, softening the knees, and as we inhale, we're going to roll it back up. Just rolling it up. And coming back to your standing position, rolling the shoulders back at the top. Bringing the feet in. And we're just going to do a bit of foot stretching. So just starting by lifting your right heel up, and then switching. So imagining you're like on a little walking machine or a 80s exercise video. So really sending the front of your foot forward, so you're getting as much stretch as possible in your foot, and then just speeding it up a little bit if it feels okay. And then we're going to keep the right heel up, really squeezing the glutes. We're going to bring the left heel up, and then from here you might need to lean against something, so we'll just do 10 bounces down. So we'll just lightly bounce down and then spring back up. So we'll bounce down 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Heels down, turning the toes out. We'll do the same here. So really squeezing the glutes to help with the balance, and we'll bounce down 10 times here. So we'll bounce 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Giving your legs a shake. And then we're just going to go in with a bit of hip mobilization. So again, if you've got something to hold on to, that might come in handy. Grounding down through the left leg, and you can start with your hands on your hips unless you're holding on to something. I seem to have props all around me. Just going to, as you breathe in, you're just going to gently lift the right knee up, and then once it's up, just check the alignment of your hips. You ideally want them along the same axis rather than one being higher than the other, and really squeezing the glutes on that left side. Then we're just going to take the knee out without moving the hips, so just the knee travels out, in and down. And again, inhale, knee up, exhale, open, inhale, in, exhale, down. So just one breath per movement, just moving slowly, really controlling that movement, so it shouldn't feel like on the straight leg anything is moving. And let's do 2 more. And last one. And then taking the hips out, give them a little wiggle. And then we'll do the same on the other side. So grounding down to the right leg, really engaging that leg, squeezing the glutes, engaging the thigh muscles, and then lightly lifting your left knee, squaring off the hips, taking the knee out to the side, in and down. So again, one breath per movement. Inhale, knee comes up, exhale, opens out, inhale in, exhale down. 3 more. Last one, and then giving the legs a little shake. And now we're just going to roll down to make sure that when you position yourself, you're at one end of your mat, so you've got room to just basically go forward. Let's move that here. So just taking a breath in, and as you exhale, dropping the crown of the head towards the floor, and then just letting your spine follow one vertebra at a time until you're back down in your forward fold. And here we're going to bend our knees and come to an all-fours position. So with your shoulders over your wrists, knees under the hips, and we'll do a couple of cat and cow stretches here. So as you inhale, tilting the sitting bones towards the ceiling and imagining them moving apart from each other, and looking ahead, and then exhale, reversing the stretch, starting with the belly button drawing up towards the spine, and then feeling or imagining the sitting bones drawing closer towards each other and pushing out in between the shoulder blades. Let's do a couple more. And last one. And then we're going to come to our neutral spine position, sliding the shoulder blades down the back. Keeping the gaze between your fingers, tucking the toes under. And we'll take a breath in, and as we exhale, we're going to lift the belly button towards the ceiling, squeezing the glutes, hovering the knees off the mat. And then inhale, dropping them down. We'll do 3 more of these, and you've got the option to hold the lift for a couple of breaths at a time. So just coming up and either holding it or going straight down. Really make sure the shoulder blades are sliding down your back to keep your back strong. It will help with stability. And try and have the feeling that you're lifting out of your wrists and lifting out of the shoulders. And then after the last one, taking the knees really nice and wide, toes together. You can tuck the toes under for an extra foot stretch if this doesn't get crampy or uncomfortable. Sitting your hips down on your heels and then walking your hands forward, so you end up in a child's pose, but with knees really out should be quite comfortable. And if your forehead doesn't reach the floor, just grab your block or cushion and just pop it under your head so your neck is fully supported. Hands wider than the shoulders. Keep sliding the shoulder blades down the back. If your arms are just tired and don't want to do this, just wrap them around your heels or have them by your sides. And then here, if your hands are in front of you, we're just going to walk the hands all the way over towards the right and draw the left hip down towards the left heel. And taking a few breaths in your left side. And then walking the hands all the way over to the left as you draw the right hip down towards your right heel. And again, see if through your breath you can find a bit more room in your right side. And then walking the hands forwards again, so you're back to your child's pose. Just bringing the knees in a touch so you can lift the hips up. So we're in a downward dog with knees really, really bent. Legs are as wide as they need to be to accommodate a bump. And we'll just walk it out here. So just dropping one heel in and the other, really keeping that head nice and relaxed. And keep drawing your tailbone towards the ceiling. And then as lightly as possible, we're going to walk the hands back towards the toes. And then we're just going to roll up from our forward fold, inhaling all the way up. And then rolling the shoulders back at the top. And we'll go into our little squat series. So we're going to inhale arms up, and then as we exhale, keeping our neutral spine position, we're going to reach back to find this imaginary chair somewhere behind us. And holding the squat for a moment, just checking that your ribs aren't flaring, so drawing that rib cage in and checking you're still in neutral spine here. And then as we inhale, we're going to press down through the air with our hands and straighten the legs. And again, exhale, reaching back, drawing the lower abdomen back towards the spine, and then inhale up. Exhale, reaching back. And as you inhale, really squeezing the glutes, let them do that work to lift you back up. And again, exhale back. And inhale up. Let's do 2 more. Exhale back. Inhale up. Last one, exhale back. And then from here, we're just going to imagine someone's just pulling our fingers. So we're suddenly lengthening our spine so that it ends up lining up with the floor and our legs straighten a touch. So we're essentially in this position, and then obviously it will be adapted depending on what you're working with. So your legs can be super wide, your knees can be super bent, but the key thing is to have a nice long back, as long as possible. And then we're going to breathe in. And as we exhale, we're going to hinge at the hips, so you can have your arms either in front of you or at the hips, and we're trying to hinge with a straight back. So we're using our stomach muscles to really help this. So you're going to draw up through the pelvic floor, squeeze the glutes, and draw the belly button back up towards the spine as you exhale and hinge back up. And we'll do 3 more hinges. So we're going to, in fact, hands wherever, either straight up or on your hips. We're going to inhale, hinging forwards. So hinging forwards. And then exhale, squeezing those glutes to hinge back up. 2 more. Inhale, hinging forwards. Exhale, squeeze those glutes to hinge back up. And last one. Inhale, hinging forwards. Exhale, squeeze your glutes to hinge back up. And then giving everything a little shake, shaking out the legs. And we're going to roll back down. So finding your spot at the end of your mat again. Taking a breath in. And then as you exhale, dropping the crown of the head towards the mat and rolling it down. 1 vertebra at a time. We're going to soften the knees here, and we're going to step all the way forward. So you might have to have your legs a bit wider than hip distance. Step all the way forward into a plank, and as soon as you get there, just adapt it. So you might need to drop onto your knees, come onto your forearms, whatever works. Whichever version you're in, just keep sliding the shoulder blades down the back and keep your neck long. So your gaze stays between your fingers. You're still directing the crown of the head towards one end, the front end of the room, and then your heels towards the back of your room. So we'll hold it for 3 more breaths, up to 3 more breaths. Remember to really squeeze those glutes, keep them working hard. And then after the last breath, just dropping the knees again, taking them wide, sitting back on your heels for a couple of breaths in child's pose. Maybe wrapping your hands around your heels this time around. And then we are going to, let's come back on, well, 2 options, either on all 4s or down onto your forearms. It's exactly the same exercise, so it just depends how your wrists are feeling basically. So we are going to swivel at the right hip. So keeping this 90-degree angle in your leg, you're going to squeeze the glutes, take a breath in, and as you exhale, you're going to swivel on that leg so that you end up trying to line your knee with your hip without arching your back. So you're really squeezing the glutes to help to protect your lower back. And then as you inhale, you're going to bring the knee in. And then again, exhale, hinging at the hip, trying to really line the knee with the hip. Then inhale in. We're going to do up to 3 more of these. If it gets too much on your wrists, just come straight down. And again, exhale up. And inhale in. And exhale up. And inhale in. Last one. Exhale up. And inhale in. And we'll go straight in for the other side. Exhale. Left knee comes up. Inhale in. Try to remember to lift out of the shoulders. Exhale up. Inhale in. exhale up, inhale in, 2 more, exhale up, inhale in, last one, exhale up, inhale in, and then again sitting back on your heels, stretching it out for a moment. And then just starting to walk the hands back towards the knees. And we're just going to swoop our feet forward so that they're in front of us. And then if you have got a surface outside of your mat that's slipperier, it's more slippery than your mat, then just rotate your heels so they can move a bit more freely. If not, just obviously stay on your mat. So we are going to come to rest on our forearms. So you're in this position, on your forearms, and on your forearms you still want to maintain your neutral spine position, so your lower back isn't slumping into the mat. You should still look towards your pubic bone and feel like there's a bit of a flat triangle between your hip bones and pubic bone. I appreciate that you might not be able to see it, but the idea is that your pubic bone shouldn't feel like it's higher than your hip bones. And then once you're in this position, just rolling the shoulders back and popping the chest up. And we're going to flex the ankles. We're going to take a breath in, and as we exhale, we're going to squeeze the glutes and slide the right leg out, and then inhale, bring it in. And then other side, so exhale, left leg slides, inhale in. Exhale, right leg slides, inhale in. Exhale, left leg slides, inhale in. Let's just do a few more of these, remembering to not slump in your lower back or in your shoulders. And trying to come back to this 360 breath, so feeling the expansion in your rib cage as you inhale, rather than belly breathing. So if this is fine, just keep going with this. If you feel like you'd like a bit more of a challenge, we're just going to go with 2 legs at a time. So stretching them out, and then bringing them in. Careful that you don't feel there's any doming in the bump. So if you see any little pyramids forming on top of your bump, just go back to alternating legs. So inhale, knees up, exhale, straighten. Inhale up, exhale, straighten. Let's do 2 more. Inhale, knees up, exhale, straighten. Last one, inhale, knees up, exhale, straighten. We're going to inhale, knees up, keep them here for a moment. And then we're going to turn the toes out, heels together. And then we'll do the same. So we won't do very many. So just keep pushing out of those shoulders. And we'll just start a few alternating. And then if you want to, you can do the double. So exhale as you straighten the right leg. Inhale, bringing it in. Exhale, straighten. Inhale, bringing it in. Oh, sorry, alternating, I said. So switching sides. Seeing how that feels, really trying to keep the turn out in the toes as you straighten the leg. Squeezing the glutes will really help, keeping that external rotation. And then if this feels totally fine, you're just going to, as you exhale, you're going to squeeze those heels together, keep them into contact as you straighten the legs, and then inhale, bringing everything in. Exhale, squeeze, inhale, bringing everything in. Again, exhale, squeeze, inhale in, and exhale, squeeze, inhale in, and then bringing the knees up, feet on the floor, and propping yourself up, walking yourself up to a seated position. We're going to keep the knees bent, just moving things out of the way, and we're just going to do a little hip release here. So the trick is we're going to move one side at a time. The trick is to keep the side that's not moving super still, which is probably harder than you'd think. So just propping yourself up onto your hands to keep the spine nice and tall. We're just going to allow the right knee to flop out to the side. And then flexing the foot, and we're going to straighten the leg out to the side. So your toes are turned out. And then dragging the heel back along the floor. And then when it's back in line with your hip bone, you're going to turn the toes up and in a touch. And then bringing the knee up. So we're just basically trying to get a full rotation in the hip joint. So gently lowering that knee down, especially I know with that hypermobility, you just don't want to let that knee just drop. So lowering with control, which is actually, this is probably hardest for you, I reckon. Flexing the ankle, stretching your leg out with the toes turned out, allowing the heel to drag along the floor, and then as it comes in line with the hip, turning the toes in, and then bringing the hip up. Let's do 2 more of these on this side, watching that this leg is as still as possible. Dropping the knee out, flexing the ankles, And then dragging that heel in. And last one. And remembering to breathe. And then we'll do the same on the other side. So this time allowing the left knee to drop out to the side, flexing the ankle, straightening that leg, leading with the heel, leading the heel along the floor, turning the toes in at the end, and bringing the knee up. Let's do 4 more of these. So this should really loosen up the hip joint, so hopefully it will feel quite nice after. Might feel nice now. And I think with that, and then just allowing the knees to flop out to the side and just folding forwards, a really comfortable forward fold, allowing the feet to just slide away from you and just staying here for a couple of breaths without putting any weight on your shins with your arms. And then walking your hands back up towards your hips, and we're going to come to a side lying position. So lying on your right side, and then grabbing hold of a cushion or a block to just pop under your bump if you need it. So it doesn't feel like your skin is just dropping. I'm just going to get my phone to check the time. Make sure we're doing okay. Cool. So, what am I doing with this? I don't actually need it. So, lying on your right side, ideally you want your arm to be under your ear. My arm would be straight if I had more room, but you basically just want your spine to be all nicely stacked. If this feels really wobbly with 2 legs straight, just bend your bottom leg, and you want to make sure that your hips feel like they're stacked one on top of the other, so it shouldn't feel like this top leg is rolling back. And we'll just start with some leg lifts. So rolling your top shoulder back, your left hand can either be alongside the body or in front of you. We'll take a breath in, and as you exhale, think about lengthening the leg and then lifting it, squeezing the glutes. Inhale, lower. Exhale, lift. Inhale, lower. And exhale, lift. Inhale, lower. And exhale, lift. Inhale, lower. Let's do 3 more. Exhale, lift. Inhale, lower. Exhale, lift. Inhale, lower. Exhale, lift. Inhale, lower. And then we're just going to add a bit of adductor work. So we're going to bring this leg back up to hip height, bringing your top hand back in front of you if it wasn't already there, squeezing your inner thighs. We're going to breathe in, and then as you exhale, you're going to bring your bottom leg to meet the top one, and then we're just going to move the bottom one. So we're going to inhale, lower, exhale, lift, squeezing those inner thighs. Inhale, lower, exhale, lift, and your glutes. Inhale, lower, exhale, lift. Inhale, lower, exhale, lift. Inhale, lower, exhale, lift. And inhale, lower, exhale, lift. Last one. Inhale, lower, exhale, lift. Inhale, lower, and then exhale, lowering the other leg, bringing the knees towards you and giving your hip flexors a little well done thump if they need it. And then you're just going to bring the legs at a 90-degree angle, so knees stacked one on top of the other. And then top hand just drops that top hip away so they stay, so your hips stay stacked essentially. And then from here we're going to do same leg lift. So we're going to breathe in, and as we exhale we're going to lift the left knee up to hip height. Inhale, lower. Exhale, lift, squeezing those glutes. Inhale, lower. Exhale, lift. Inhale, lower. And exhale, lift. Inhale, lower. Exhale, lift. We're going to stay lifted, and we're going to drop the knee to the bottom knee and the foot to the foot. Knee to knee, foot to foot. Let's do 2 more. Knee to knee, foot to foot, and knee to knee, foot to foot, and then knee to knee, and again giving everything a little thump. I find mine need it. And then we're just going to come onto our front, just onto all fours actually, before we do the other side. So just to keep a bit of arm strength going, we're going to do some box press ups. We're going to do up to 4. I'll show you the first one, and then, I'll show you one, and then you can join me, and you can just do 1 if you want to, depending on how you're feeling. So the key thing is you're going forward with the head and drawing the elbows in as if you wanted to create a little shelf for the rib cage. So just try just a tiny one to see how low you can go, and then with being able to straighten your arms without arching your back. So I generally just try a little one and think, okay, this is okay. And then if you try a little bit lower and then come back up, but I couldn't go all the way to the floor without arching my back to come up. So just do 4 of these, inhaling as your head goes forwards and then exhaling as you push back up. So your bum doesn't go back towards the heels, everything goes forwards. As you inhale, exhale up. Inhale, elbows draw in, exhale, pushing back up. The last one, inhale, elbows draw in, exhale, pushing back up. And then just after your last one, taking a little break, sitting back on your heels for a little stretch. And then rolling up. And we'll just move on to doing the side series on your left side. So moving on to your left side. With your arm either straight under you or wrapped around, or I forgot to say, if you've got a shoulder injury, just bring your arms at a 90-degree angle and maybe pop your extra cushion under your head. So a couple of options. And your bottom leg for this one can be bent, or 2 legs straight. And we'll just start with the lift, so breathing in, and then exhale, lengthening the leg and lifting it up to hip height, squeezing those glutes. Inhale, lower, exhale, lift. Inhale, lower, exhale, lift. Inhale, lower. Exhale, lift. Inhale, lower. Exhale, lift. Inhale, lower. Dropping the toes ever so slightly towards the floor, so we're not doing this in a turned out position. Exhale, lift. Inhale, lower. Last one, exhale, lift. Inhale, lower. We're just going to bring the leg back up to hip height, bringing your right hand on the floor if it's not there already. Squeezing your inner thighs, breathing in. Exhale, lifting the right leg up, left leg up. Inhale, lower. Exhale, lift. Inhale, lower. Exhale, lift. Inhale, lower. Exhale, lift. Inhale, lower. Exhale, lift. Inhale, lower. Last one, exhale, lift. Inhale, lowering everything, bringing the knees in towards your chest. Taking a little break. And then bringing your knees, both knees and legs at a 90-degree angle. And then we'll do the lifts again. So we're going to breathe in. Exhale, lifting the right knee up. Inhale, lower. Exhale, lifting, squeezing those glutes. Inhale, lower. Exhale, lift. Inhale, lower. Exhale, lift. Inhale, lower. Last one, exhale, lift. We'll stay lifted. We're going to bring the knee to the knee, and the foot to the foot, and the knee to the knee, and the foot to the foot, and the knee to the knee. Foot to foot, last one, knee to knee, foot to foot, bringing the knee down and giving everything a little thump again. And then if you've got a second pillow, it'll be quite nice to pop it under your head. I'll pop a block under my head now. And you're keeping your knees coming back to your position where your knees are stacked. And you want your top knee, so you'll want your right knee to be slightly overshooting the left knee, and your hands in a crocodile clasp. And we're just going to, well, as we inhale, we're going to take the right hand over to the right side. And then you can have your arm either in a cactus arm or straight, and just allowing gravity to do a bit of work here. Just with each breath, see if you can just allow your arm to naturally drop a little bit more towards the floor and feeling a bit of a deeper stretch in your spine. So really filling your ribs as you inhale. And you want to try and keep your stomach muscles switched on the exhale to protect your back. And to really keep your right knee over the left one. We'll stay here for one more breath. And then bringing the right arm back over the left one. And we'll just roll onto our other side. So we can repeat the stretch on the left side. So once your left knee is slightly overshooting the right one, taking the left hand over to the left side. And again, just breathing through the stretch. Bringing that left arm back on top of the right, and just almost carry carrying on with your twisting action. So you end up on all fours, and then we're just going to come to a seated position. A comfortable seated position, so you can have your legs crossed or you can be on your shins, and you might want to pop your block to make sure your hips are higher than your knees. We'll just keep checking the time. So from here, let's go, we'll do just a few side bends before we go into some more stretches. So taking your right hand out to the side, as we inhale, we're going to reach up with the left hand, and then exhale, reaching more towards the right, relaxing the neck. If you want to intensify the stretch, you can scoop your feet away from under you and pop them in this mermaid position. So whatever works best. And then we're going to inhale, reaching up, exhale, reaching over towards the right, the left, dropping the left shoulder. And then again, inhale, reaching up, exhale, reaching towards the right. And inhale, reaching up, exhale, reaching towards the left. And now reaching up, back to the starting position. If your feet are in a mermaid stretch position, just switching sides. And taking your left arm out to the side, inhale, reaching your right arm up. Exhale, going into side bend towards the left. And then again, inhale, reaching up. Exhale, bending over towards the right. Inhale, reaching up. Exhale, bending over towards the left, and making sure that your shoulders stay as far from your ears as possible. One more. Inhale up. Exhale, reach. And then inhale up. Exhale, come up to your to your seated position. And let's go into a little trapezius stretch. So taking the right ear to the right shoulder, walking the left hand out, and wrapping your right hand over the left ear as you slide your left shoulder blade down the back. Then taking the hand to the back of the head, tilting it so you're looking down towards your right hip bone as you keep sliding that left shoulder blade down the back. You can also walk the left hand back a bit or forwards, seeing if it makes a difference to your stretch. And then using your right hand to gently bring the head up, giving it a little side to side shake. And let's do the same on the other side. So left ear to left shoulder, walking the right hand out, wrapping the left hand over the right ear as you slide the right shoulder blade down the back. This is when my mirroring generally goes out the window, but I'm hanging in there. And then taking the hand to the back of the head, tilting it so you're now looking down towards your left hip bone as you keep sliding the right shoulder blade down the back. And again here, maybe walking that right hand up and down just to see if you feel any different stretch. And then using your left hand to bring your head up, giving it a little wiggle. And then we are going to go into a hip flexor stretch. So bringing your right knee up and taking it as far from you as you need to be to have some room. And we'll just cross the left ankle over that knee. And you can always prop your upper back against a pillow, a sofa or a wall, or whatever you need to just help propping you up. We still want to make sure our spine is in neutral here. So just imagine you're trying to roll up on top of your sitting bones and still rolling the shoulders back. So no slumping in the lower back, no slumping in the chest. And breathing, and either keeping it still or just adding a little rock from side to side. Or maybe staying in a place that's a bit different, that feels more helpful. And then taking your top foot off, and we'll pop the other one on. Finding your neutral spine position. Popping yourself out with your shoulders again. And then maybe adding that rock. And then popping your right foot off. Taking the knees wide again. We've done quite a lot of hip work, so we'll just do a little bit more hip stretches. And then here, if it feels okay on your feet, just opening them a little bit up like a book, and we'll just go into a little butterfly motion. And then just allowing the feet to almost drag you forward into a forward fold. So flopping forward into a gentle forward fold, relaxing the head. And just taking a few breaths here. And then walking the hands back up towards the hips. Finding your comfortable seat again. And then let's take a few rounds of breathing. So we'll just inhale on the count of 5 and exhale on the count of 5. So yeah, you can actually be lying down on your side if you feel that's quite nice or nicer. And I won't do your counting because you might just get to 5 and think, whoa, that's way too much. But just thinking about long breaths, matching the inhale with the exhale in a way that's comfortable and slow. So just starting whenever you're ready and just breathing, really thinking back to filling the lungs as you take this big inhale. And see if you can really empty the lungs as much as possible to then maximize the next big inhale. And if you need an image to help you focus your breath, you can think of your breath as circular, so maybe washing over you and over the bump as you inhale, and then washing over the back of the body as you exhale. And slowly starting to return to your natural breath. Opening your eyes if they were shut. And then we will just finish with our little hip jaw massage, which is linked to the hip, which is why I'm confusing them clearly. So let's just go into tapping the jaw from the meaty bit that's close to the ear and the end of the jawline, working up to your cheekbones, and then just starting to smooth the skin out from the cheekbones to the jawline, maybe opening your mouth as you do so. Just lengthen that stretch. And then just working your way with your index finger and your thumb along the jawline. Maybe focusing on any knotty or gristly bits. And then back to the chin. And then just taking the palm of the hand to the right side of your face, lightly pressing into your face, and then lightly at the same time pressing your jaw into that hand. So just everything, keeping everything super light. And we'll just do 2 more of these, so just little presses and release. And again, press and release, and another one, press and release, and then other side. And then just taking a little stretch, and then we'll do the neck stretch. So just picking your head up and then using a knuckle or the bit between the 2 knuckles. I find that's useful. And then just running your finger down from the jawline to the collarbone, as if you're trying to smooth out your neck all the way down to the base of the ear. Working your way back and And then swapping hands halfway through. And then working your way back. And back to center, giving everything a little shake.